Hello everyone, greetings and namaste. My name is Luke Elijah. Thank you for tuning in to this video. My exceptional guest today is none other than Yantara Jiro. It's been over 1.5 years since I was trying to score a second interview session with Yantara, but it's so busy, I had to wait more than 1.5 years to get this video opportunity once more. So thank you very much, Jiro, for coming back again to my talk show. This is actually my third video with you. The first was solo, and the second we had a group discussion with the practitioners. Right, so I'm very, very honored to have Jiro back. Jiro, could you tell us a little bit of what you've been up to since we last met you?
Well, there's been a lot of journey explored, many different places I've been, and gathering a lot of new information, especially from the quantum mechanics field. So I've been doing a lot of studying, I've been doing a lot of understanding how the cells and the brain and sound and light, intention and emotions, how that all affects us from a very fundamental level, how that connects to the infinite consciousness, so to speak. Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, we're always expanding, we're always growing, right? Upgrading ourselves. Could you tell the audience, what can they do, right? Especially spiritual practitioners, they have a hard time balancing the material side of the material aspect of their living as well as their abundance. For example, many people either have a lot of material wealth, but they lack spirituality and no time to meditate. And you have the reverse issue and problem, such as they may have a lot of time being very spiritual and then become very ungrounded, and they don't seem to be able, they have a hard time manifesting or creating money and material wealth. And it seems like these two have a hard time being married together or have a harmonious balance. But in truth, you are a shining example that you can actually be spiritual and be wealthy at the same time. In other words, you can have it all, right? And I think this is something that many people struggle with, especially if they're new and they want to be a healer or a spiritual practitioner, and they find it, I can't seem to make money doing this line of work, but yet you have shown us that you can actually be very successful in this career and also have a lot of abundance in all areas of life. So could you tell us, should you share from your perspective and experience, how can someone marry the two together?
I think there's one important aspect, firstly, to clarify, is that success in general doesn't mean necessarily that having money means or financial freedom means you're successful. It's very subjective. Everybody experience in their own definition what does success means.
Correct.
And ultimately, in my opinion, I feel happiness is the goal of whatever that people want to achieve, whether they have more health or more wealth, or more time or more love. At the end of that, by having it, they find more and experience more joy and happiness in their life. But in this particular aspect, in terms of combining the two subject together, like spirituality and money, these two aspects coming together, it's not a new problem. It always has been around for a long time. Even for myself, when I first started, I think in year 2004 or even prior to that, I was running meditation groups, small groups, and these groups, as they gather, sometimes it could range from just a couple of handful of people to maybe 10 or even 20 and 30, and it could fall back to just less than 10 just the following week. So these fluctuations would let you question, is it because that I wasn't doing well, or is it because I was scheduled at the wrong date, or is it actually too costly? All kinds of questions will pop into your mind to almost ask yourself, are you worthy of receiving the abundance in which that you want, at the same time still be able to share the love, share the light, share ways to get happy based upon your own interests. Because people come to you based upon what you want to share, and every time they come, you have a different subject. So I feel that a lot of blockages comes from childhood, and these childhood blockages are a large part of our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind takes up 95% of our lives. So which means that 95% of our subconscious mind runs our desires, it runs our intentions, it runs our goals, our dreams. So we think that by having all these so-called ideals or dreams and things that I like, what I want to pursue in my life, has everything to do with my conscious choice. Like this is me, this is who I am and what I want to become. But it may not necessarily be, based upon the study of the brain, which 95% of us is being programmed to like the things that we like, to pursue the career that we think that is meant for us, so on and so forth. So from a very young time, any human being who is being programmed will naturally take from the environment and also from the family members, from friends, from subconscious, in introducing all these programmings through verbal, sound, or light, or even food. And all that would be encrypted into our body, into our cells, into our brain. So we need to know what are some of the challenges or the blockages that are affecting us on a daily basis. In fact, we don't have to look too deep within ourselves. All we need to do is just to look around what are the challenges that we face, what are the beliefs that we have right now that sometimes when opportunity comes to us and we're not allowing that opportunity, maybe perhaps we doubt it. When someone buys us a meal, we're thinking, oh, does that person have something in mind? What are they trying to say? Things like that.
Yeah.
Or when there is really something good coming, but we think that, oh, I don't think I should receive it because it's not for me. So all these kind of thoughts come from our programming. If we can address them and change the meanings that we have associated with all these thoughts in our mind, we'll be able to directly change our personality. We'll be able to directly change the way we behave, the way we take our actions. Perhaps even transform procrastination into actual action, and to be open and willing to receive whatever things that could come to us, because ultimately we're the one who close the gate to abundance or to health or to love, to freedom, to time, to possibilities, and we're the one who actually open those gates up at the same time too. So in my journey of exploring, marrying, so-called speak, the spirituality and money together, how that actually works is that when I actually put a price, a fee, a cost to a service itself, I would ask myself, does it feel, to me maybe it's a feeling thing, to some people might be a very intellectual thing, like they think is this worthwhile of my time, so they will compute based upon hours, they will compute based upon effort. For me, I would compute based upon feeling. So is it a feeling that I feel comfortable with? Is it a heavy feeling, or is it a light feeling? Is it an exciting feeling? Is it a feeling that makes me feel energized? So I will put out a number and adjust the number. So
until you feel comfortable.
Until I feel comfortable. And that number itself, of course, I will question myself. If this number goes beyond a particular digit, why do I feel uncomfortable about it? Is it because of my own self-worth issue, or I feel like it does not compute in equality and integrity of the service I'm doing? Like people doesn't need to pay that much anyway, or people can actually afford to pay that. That again, of course, people would probably ask the question like, oh, but look, there are many people who are unable to afford certain form of services, especially in the spiritual community, or we have a teaching, or rather our maybe from some books or from some other teachers that we have heard, or maybe from our relatives or our family members that say, oh, when we do good things, we shouldn't expect anything in return. We shouldn't expect anything in return. Which in a certain level, I feel it's true, because when you do something that you truly want to do, you're not actually asking for anything in return. But when you're actually given something back in return, it doesn't mean that you need to reject it. It's okay to receive it. It's not like you deliberately ask for it. But if you do want it, as long as you are open about it in the beginning and you state that this is what I would prefer, and as exchange, there is a form of respect in that too.
Indeed. In fact, speaking of this, there's one thing you taught me that I still apply and has served me, which is actually when I receive payment for a service, I do not see the client as paying me, but really according me the ability and the abundance to continue to provide a service.
Yes.
And that way I shift my perspective about my worthiness and the integrity of receiving payment for a good deed or good healing or good service done and rendered.
Yes.
Yes.
Because when knowledge can never be bought. It's not something that if I pay this amount of money, I'm going to get this information, and this information itself is going to transform me into some magical beings, or make me a happy person or make me a millionaire. It is up to that individual who takes that information, integrate it, understand it, apply it, experiment with it, so on and so forth. So when we are actually paying somebody, we're saying thank you, for sharing this information. We're actually saying that whatever that you have done in the past, as you spend your time and your earning journey in exploring, getting this information itself, this money itself that I'm paying is to help you to continue to have that lifestyle, so that you can continue to explore, gather more information for whatever reason. Maybe because as a receiver or as a student going through the course itself, I'm not very prone or very skilled in gathering information. So I would probably need somebody who is a gatherer of information to help me gather that. So by me paying you is to take care of the time that you have put in to gather all the information. So that's thank you for that. But it's never about saying that by me paying you means you need to be responsible for my intelligence. You're responsible for making me smart. You're responsible for healing me 100%. It's always a co-creation between the practitioner and so-called the receiver. They hold a co-creation platform that is equally important. So it's never the practitioner's only sole responsibility to make sure that the person feels good, but it's also the receiver's responsibility to allow themselves to be open enough to receive information that would, in a way, be encouraging and supportive to their own transformation. So it's on equal level. But when we are bringing this concept of, say, for example, money and spirituality, the programming is very strong, because anything related to arts, for example, could be painting, could be drawing, dance, making music as a musician or as a singer. There is, especially in Singapore, perhaps in the mentality of older generations, always say that when you are involved in the creative industry, you're not going to earn lots of money. You're not going to be successful. Perhaps if you pursue your passion, you're not going to.
That's a common belief.
You're not going to gain. You're not going to earn. You're not going to live well. But look at it right now. We're actually, having a blast and explosive time where creativity is at its peak. It is now integrating into technology. Of all this quantum scan of QR codes. Doing shopping in a supermarket that does not require any a sales assistant there. When you are doing shopping online, all this comes from creative ideas. When you design something, whether it is something technical or whether it is designing a book or furniture or a building architect, whatever that it is itself, it requires and it goes through a creative process. And that development of that creative mind is so important that if it's mislooked, if it's not supported, if it's not encouraged and developed, the children of the future is not going to stand a chance. Not because they can't earn money, they can still do very laborious things, but they won't feel satisfied in their life. Because the creative energy is what feeds us. So spirituality, in fact, it forces us to tap into the creative field. It moves us into connecting with our own powers. It moves us into exploring more about ourselves, who we are, who we think, about who we want to become. Why do we believe in certain things that we believe? Why we don't like certain things we don't like? It helps us to break down limiting beliefs. So that's a very important thing. The limiting beliefs, of course, includes like maybe I don't deserve a good partner, or it could be like I should only be able to receive this X amount of money for the service that I provide, so on and so forth. So all of that is and then we feel very guilty, receiving any form of monetary exchange, and we're very shy about it. We shouldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
And anyone who actually charges more, we have to attack them. That's a lot of
Very
people they do,
competitive, yes,
because they say, wow, because
Jealousy.
because I'm not allowing myself to earn more,
Correct.
so someone else shouldn't too.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to, because I'm not allowing myself to earn that much. Why you should charge? So they bring in all that
Their own projections.
moral,
Yes.
so-called the moral stance and all that. But in a way, I feel everyone has their own right in their belief in how they live their life. But more importantly is, are they happy, truly happy, deep within? Are they able to sustain and support the lifestyle right now? Because in the past, say, maybe the past 50 years or maybe the past 80, 100 years, because spirituality has always been since the beginning of time. But for people to have a form of monetary exchange in the past, there wasn't as much inflation. So the X amount of money that people used to charge could easily support them, in ways that that is comfortable. But right now, in this modern time where people are living in such a high expense, the same amount that you used to charge and in the past compared to now, it can no longer sustain your lifestyle. In fact, it could probably in the near future, jeopardize your ability to live a more comfortable lifestyle. Because if we look at that, if we look and say, wow, okay, if I allow myself to receive that much money itself, then I should reinvest it in something else, which is really good. If you reinvest it in your own development, say you go and attend more courses, you upgrade yourself, you take time to be in an environment that feels good, because being good in a good environment is very important. When we're in a good environment, our body receives good information, and this information goes into our body, and those information will help us to create more space within us, so that we are able to think, we're able to process, and we're able to change some of the biochemistry that's happening from our brain that's affecting our cells, and therefore, having perhaps a much more deeper cellular healing that you couldn't possibly have because you were in the wrong environment. So sometimes money can actually put you in a better place. A better place, what I mean is a place that brings more comfort and brings more nurturing, nourishing energy. So it could be perhaps putting up yourself at a better hotel, or it could be giving you better access to better food, which nowadays good food can be a little more costly. It could be giving you better comfort with your clothing, because now you could afford to buy better materials and keeping yourself warm wherever you travel, things like that. So they're very micro little things. As the body goes through stress due to the lack of resources, it will have to use its own energy to protect itself, therefore depleting your original chi or original force. So money is a form of chi, it's a form of energy. I remember once when I was in a shower, and it's always I get inspiration in the shower. I'm sure many of you get inspiration too when you're in the shower. And when I was in the shower, I felt this connection with money. And that connection and money feels like water to me. So as the water was flushing through my body, I felt this excitement, this flow that is going through. And I was like, hey, it can be like this, and I can choose to allow myself to receive more. Because for a very long time, I used to keep my session fees at a very minimum. I think my first charge was, well, that was maybe 18 years ago, like $50. I think my first charge was 50 or 60. I think it was $60. I kind of like remember 60 at the time, a bit more. So $60 I think was the time that I charged, and I was doing basic energy healings. I was doing Reiki healing, a lot of non-verbal way of healing. Nowadays there's a lot more talking, there's a lot more psyche involved, a lot more content involved, a lot more sound involved. But in the past it was a lot of non-verbal.
Yes.
So this non-verbal healing, to a lot of people, it's like, it's not tangible.
Yeah,
For a lot of people, it's not tangible. Because it's not tangible, it's difficult to justify that I've done something to this person. And therefore, I should not also charge that much because it's not tangible. But for something that is tangible, like a massage, for example, then yes, maybe perhaps a little more. Or you go for your pedicure, manicure, or you go for your haircut, which is something really tangible. Or you go to a chiropractor. You go for surgery, which is extremely tangible after the surgery. So ideally, the more tangible it is, the more amount of money you should ideally pay. But when you go to a psychiatrist, say for example, a psychiatrist actually can charge a lot too.
Yeah.
But it is actually not tangible.
Non-tangible.
It is something that is through conversation, but what is tangible are emotions. Yes, that part can be felt, yes. And maybe through the mind, through visualization, maybe through some exercises that your psychology has given you to do some exercise. So you have that visual sense.
More visceral.
Or it could be aromatherapy too, you know, something that is through a scent, you know, something, but the scent goes away quickly too, you know, how would I justify that it has actually worked for me, except that I felt better for a while, and then after that, then what? So there's not enough study for a very long time about non-verbal, non-tangible form of energy medicine, we call it energy medicine. So because of that, the community itself in general, people who come to alternative medicine, alternative healing, do not feel that they need to pay as much to these practitioners because they are not firstly licensed, or they are not commonly or respected or known, except to the local culture, if any, you know, that has some form of energy healing or spiritual healing or channeling. Perhaps in the Chinese culture, Taoism, you know, there's a form of channeling that is involved, but like they give some talisman and then you drink it, you burn it and you drink it, and it heals the body. Of course, this it is on a quantum level, it works, but still it is not. There's no regulation. There's no government body or any form to say that, hey, this, you know, Reiki or quantum healing or aromatherapy session, you know, you can, this is your range to charge, you know, and anything below, you cannot go below because it protects you, you know, the minimum wage, so to speak.
Yes, there's no union or industry standard per se,
exactly,
or guidelines,
So because there isn't, everybody who is, a lot of people who are in this spiritual practitioner, you know, industry itself, they have to use their own intuition. They need to reference it from someone else to see, oh, is it justifiable in this country, in this town, in this city? Am I able to charge at this amount and get people still be willing to come for my service? So then there is a form of competition that will come in to say, oh, there's a form of promotion that will come in, and all kind of advertisement, so on and so forth. So all of that, a lot usually comes from lack.
Yes. And
that lack energy, which can be translated into many things, isn't it? So one of it in the form of this subject that we're talking about right now is to do with money, to do with the money in abundance and in terms of money. So as this lack manifests in this way, that lack itself usually would sabotage, you know, all of our thoughts that are in there. So anything to do with receiving, that is not going to, we're not going to allow as much. We allow a certain amount, but no, not anything more than that. Anything more than that is going to make you feel really
guilty,
very uncomfortable, which is respected, you know, of course. In that moment of time, if you force yourself to do something that is make you feel very guilty, then you're not going to connect with your own power. You're going to disconnect from it. Of course, you're not going to get a very satisfying result or have enough people, because even if people come and give you that money itself, you would want to quickly spend it away.
Yeah, so how does one break free from this negative, self-sabotaging, repetitive programming and cycle? And how do we train our mind or change the neural pathways, you know, to then feel more worthy and more in alignment with our true worth, our true abundance that is our birthright?
Well, firstly, I think for anyone who is willing and wanting to go through breaking their own potentially, you know, we never know whether we have. Sometimes people have limiting beliefs, limiting thoughts that are related to, say, money in this subject, but they don't know. That they have it.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. You're even in denial.
Yeah, it is in a subconscious level that is not coming to the surface itself at that point in time. But perhaps other people around could see it, or your bank account could see it, or, you know, people around you could tell, like, hey, you know, are you okay? You know, or you find yourself not being able to get engaged in or participate in a lot of activities that you would want to participate, but due to lack of resources, whether it's time or money and all that, you say, no, perhaps I shouldn't. And there's a sense of like disappointment, but you brush it aside and say, oh well, that's life, that's what it is, it will come. But you never really get to address it. So how do you really address it? Firstly is you must be willing. I think that's very important. But if you're not willing, you're creating a block, you're not allowing it, for that first step. So you must be willing, let's begin with. You must be aware that you have something like that, then you want to work on it. So be willing and you need to be aware. And you can go through meditation. So meditation is one way where you relax your mind, you breathe and you relax into your own inner space and allow your inner feelings to surface, because that will tell you what is your current vibrational state, what is your current emotional state. And by identifying what you're feeling, you're able to associate with thoughts, with memories perhaps related to this particular subject. You can also go through regression, which is a very powerful tool. You can regress back into maybe when you were young, a childhood, or any particular timeline, significant timeline where you felt really uncomfortable when you were talking about money, or whether you felt restricted because you didn't have enough money itself. Or it could be looking at your upbringing, whether you lived in an environment that was very challenging financially. Has your family always been going through financial struggles? You always need some form of financial support from the government, some form of subsidies. All that itself would be engraved into your subconscious mind. So there are people who will work really hard to try and break that because they know that they have that, so they work really hard to try and break it. Some people are very successful with it and they eventually become effortless manifestors because they look at ways to break away their own mindset, the mind frame. How they do it is that by writing down, that's one way, writing down what kind of thoughts, what kind of keywords that come into your mind. So say for example, when you go and buy something, and before you buy it, what goes through your mind? Is it the first thing is how much it costs? Is that the first thing that comes to your mind? Or whether I'm going to use it for a very long time? Or whether I need it? So all these various thoughts, these are just few examples, will help you determine whether you are actually buying something based upon whether you have enough money in your bank account, or actually it's something very practical, which you really use it or not, which is really good. That's how I feel. So if the first thing that comes to your mind is whether I have enough money to pay for this, you probably look at the price tag quite quickly to begin with. Yeah, you look at it, or you really look at it and you know that it's going to be expensive, but you look at it and then you sort of battle with your own inner bank. And as you battle with your own inner bank, it's like, am I able to stretch that belief that by buying this, I'm going to receive more abundance later on to pay for this anyway? So once you're observing what thoughts goes into your mind, you're able to then shift and change the things, the sentences, the statements that you're saying to yourself. Because by repeating certain statements that goes into your mind, you're able to change the neurological functions of your brain. You're able to tell yourself and suggest to yourself new ways of relating to money. So talking to yourself and finding what kind of statements that means a lot to you, what kind of statements that impacts you the most, what statements brings you forward, or what kind of statement stops you on the track, is important to be aware of, and therefore be willing to change those sentences. So changing sentences, changes phrases that comes to your mind, repeating I am phrases, which is I am statements talks directly to your subconscious mind, which is 95%
very strong.
So that I am statement is powerful. It's not just an affirmation, but it's something that if you feel it, if it comes along, if you feel what you are saying and what you're saying and what you're feeling is in alignment and is in coherence, that itself will have a very powerful biochemistry impact on your body. And your brain will begin to rewire, because a lot of times when our brain is that what it does is that it holds very strong networks, and these pathways, neural pathways itself, they hold this programming that is inherent to our own personality, our own identity, or so to speak, our ego. So anything that challenges the identity of this ego itself, unless it's beneficial, it will most of the time retaliate.
Yeah,
it will try to protect itself, it will ignore, it will suppress. For various reasons. One, it consumes energy. Anything that requires change, it consumes some form of energy. You need to firstly detach from what you already know, what you're familiar with, which is your comfort zone, and shift into a space where it feels more safer. It shifts into a space whereby it feels more expensive.
Familiar, yes.
Yeah, familiar. So if when the consciousness of the person is actually transforming, the brain itself will begin to experience its own familiar and its own comfort space. And that own comfort space will be expanded actually. So it's very good that if a person is beginning to allow themselves to break through their own limitations, the brain will begin to find new meanings associating with their life and the world they live in, the realities and so forth. They'll begin to picture and create a new versions of themselves, so therefore rewiring the brain. So the brain will begin to find and create new pathways and detach and disassociate from old meanings and create new meanings. This could actually translate to formulating a lot of new biochemistry which affects the cells, then therefore healing the body. And that could eradicate a lot of problems that is related to, say, abundance, lack of money, and so forth. Those old memories related to, all programming is related to lack and abundance, not able to allow myself to receive money due to the service that I give to people in spirituality. All that can be actually transformed. Of course, we're talking about taking time to explore and going deeper, and at the same time, while you're exploring inwardly, you also will be providing a service at the same time. Unless you're completely in a retreat, then you're taking off. But at the same time, you will be providing a service. Most of the time, I'm sure you experience this too, right? Meeting people who come for sessions, and they are mirroring some of their problems and what you've been experiencing or thinking about, maybe not a problem, but you're thinking about like a subject recently, and somehow it just comes up in the session itself. That resonance, that opportunity gives rise for you to be creative, to tap into the creative force and change the way you think about it. So after the session, you feel refreshed, like, oh, okay, wow. Well, because of this session, I could actually rethink and think differently based upon the problems or the issues, the situation that I was in previously because of the session I was giving. So it's actually a very good thing. In other words, your session, the people that are coming is in a way sometimes paying you to actually
learn, to
resolve your
Mm.
own issues. So that's really good.
Yeah, it's a real life experience, right? Like school of hard knocks, as they say, right? So yeah, I think this is very interesting because you address many of the common issues that many people have in relation to abundance and their own mindsets and self-worth. Like, a lot of people will always regurgitate over and over and over, beating the same drum of why they can't have something, and they keep repeating how they have to be practical and how their life is so, and they keep complaining, bitching, gossiping, moaning, and so they keep repeating the story. Of course, nothing changes, and that's because, like what you say, they're not even aware to begin with, and even if they are, then that cognitive dissonance sets in to then say, oh, it takes so much effort to change, so they just cut it off, right? And then now you've just given us the tools to actually have that consciousness and the awareness to shift and make that change if they so desire, right? It does take a level of commitment and responsibility and concerted effort, but everyone can do it, right? Everyone can do it, and I like the fact that you are the example. You could transmute that darkness into light and that poverty into abundance, and that lack mindset that majority of us have because it's programmed to us by our culture, our society. Yeah.
Well, I did spend quite many years, I would say, on and off, to try and look at actually what is causing. Because since I was a little kid, things like money comes in, and then it goes out straight away. In what way? Like when money comes into the family, something will not work. Like the fridge will break down, or the television, or the washing machine or something.
Yes.
Something will just somehow break down that you will need to use the money you just received to repair it, to replace it, so on and so forth. Or some problem might happen. So there's always this kind of repetition cycle. So as I begin to become aware that, hey, there is a pattern that's happening, there's a relationship somehow between money coming in and things breaking down at the same time. So I need to break that cycle. So how did I do that? Was that I intentionally and verbally, I said to myself through my conscious ear that I want to stop this. So the moment I said that, it actually felt very empowering because now I have a say in my experience. Previously, we were just interacting and reacting to the situation that comes in our life itself. We don't have a say in that experience, but the moment I verbalize it out, I change my connection with it. I change the meaning that I have to. I change my position with the experience. So that makes a huge difference, and therefore begin to go on a journey to discover more about how can I actually change all of anything that's related to money in coming in and money going out. And that has been going on for several years before I really transform it into something more greater.
Yeah, actually the principles that you have laid out today can actually apply into all areas of life, not just with money, but with manifesting anything that we desire. It's just about changing our belief systems, changing these old programmings, being aware and conscious of the limitations and fears that have blocked us in the past. Right, totally. Thank you so much, Yantara Jiro, for sharing with us all these wonderful insights. And I can vouch that everything he says works because I've also integrated and processed it, and it took me many months, several months to actually work on it. I'm still working on those layers, but they definitely do work, right? And he's the example for sure, right? Jiro, could you tell us a little bit about your upcoming sessions, workshops, retreats, and where can you go to find out more information?
Yes, there's always a lot of activities and events going on.
Yeah, ongoing.
So my website, www.yantarajiro.com. So we'll put it out, in the link. You can actually check on that. With there, you will see, my tours. 2018, we're going to Egypt. End of 2018, there'll be end of October to November time. And we also have other courses that are related to, say, sound and crystal balls and this particular subject itself that we'll talk about more.
Yeah.
So you can actually take a look at that. Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll be placing all my previous interview video links with Yantara down in the video description feed, as well as his website address where you can go to connect with him and find out more updates and information. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting insights and similar videos. Thank you so much.